For you our next panel, but first I want to do a couple of housekeeping kinds of things. Just remember there is the Innovation Theater across the way over there, where you get all kinds of great keynote discussions on all kinds of interesting, innovative topics. And if you see something interesting, tag it on social media with hashtag IHA Smart Home and continue the discussion online. Quick mention before we bring out our next panel. First, it's going to be hosted by Mike Wolf, who's my boss at thespoon.tech. You can find out about all kinds of connected kitchen stuff at thespoon.tech every day, and come to our summit, the Smart Kitchen Summit in Seattle in October, right? Is that in? Checks in the mail. Yeah, that's for me. But also, he's going to be speaking with Clay Alexander, the founder and CEO of Ember Technologies. I bought my wife an Ember mug over for Christmas, and on the first day, she drank 8 cups of coffee because it was so good each time, but she also got a little jittery at the end, so we had to regulate that a little bit, but because it keeps it hot. But they're going to talk to you all about that technology. They're going to be talking about the future of portable food containers. Please welcome Mike and Clay.
Hello. Hey,
Test.
Welcome, Clay.
Thanks, Mike.
So if anyone hasn't seen the Ember, have you guys seen these in Starbucks at least? When you walk in, they're Starbucks. You decided to go with this like really little kind of local retailer.
A tiny little retail partner.
Yeah.
I thought, well, gosh, if I wanted to sell millions of these, which coffee shop should I partner with? Yeah.
I think you chose.
And we targeted Starbucks for many years, and they were letting us know that it was a little too kind of forward for them and such, and so we finally broke the door down and got in. It was super exciting.
And you launched, I think, in fall or late 2016. I think it was with the initial set of like 100 or so stores.
Yeah.
And then you've gone pretty wide on the system.
Yeah, so we started in 100 of the top stores in the country, and we sold out within 8 days all across the country.
And that was with
this one? On our travel mug, which is our launch product. And then the success was so great that Starbucks came back to us and said, we want to put you in 4,600 stores. And so we launched this product in that many stores this last November, and it was just wildly successful.
So I follow precision heating oftentimes in the kitchen around things like cooking, right? So you look at like sous vide or some of these technologies, like some of the new ovens are doing precision around that. You guys are bringing this precision approach to beverages and saying, hey, we can create a better drink. So talk a little bit about your thinking process. You started back in, I think you got a lot of your patents back in like 2009.
2009, yeah.
So talk about why you went in this direction.
Well, because I strongly believe that temperature affects taste, right? And so a cup of coffee, let's say you go and spend $10 on an amazing cup of coffee, and it's too hot in the beginning, and then when you hit that perfect temperature, it's like right on. And then it starts to deplete from there. And so I thought, what if I could hold that exact temperature that you like? And every human has a different drinking temperature, and that's the thing. So all the other vessels that are out there don't solve for that one thing of letting the human choose their perfect temperature. For me, I like my coffee at 135, and I like my tea at 138. And if you ask anyone else who has an Ember mug, they know their temperature. And it's something that it's like a new wave that we're creating. And it really does strongly affect the experience and the taste.
Does anyone else know like their perfect coffee or tea temperature? Like, I think you're like on the far end of the bell curve on. I think, but as you sell more of these, I would imagine more people will know like what their temperature is.
Yeah. Yep.
So you guys, you have, I think, what is it, 30 patents?
So I have over 100 patents. I've invented an LED light bulb, which I sold to GE in 2009. I invented the world's first LED track light in 2005. But this is my move into the consumer space and into dishware and drinkware.
And so you bring up dishware, drinkware, and we were having a conversation over there. You pulled out and showed me a plate, and you showed me a baby bottle. And so you're thinking about not just coffee and having that perfect coffee temperature. You want to bring precision temperature to the served meal on the table to the baby bottle. Talk about that.
Right, so I created the world's first self-heated dinner plate. The story goes, I was having scrambled eggs with my wife in the kitchen, and they got cold on my plate. And I remember, this is in 2009, I remember looking down at my plate and thinking, okay, this is the 21st century, like at a bare minimum, my plate should be able to keep my meal at a nice temperature. And so I started strapping batteries and temperature control circuitry to the dinner plates in my kitchen and creating prototypes. And I started.
I'm sure that made your wife happy.
Oh no, it did.
To
She's here somewhere. I don't know. She's on her way. Anyhow, so yeah, I was making a mess of the kitchen with wires and batteries and everything. But I had this plate, and I started eating salmon off of it. I love salmon. And all the way to the last bite, you cut into the last bite, and steam comes out, and it's just amazing. There's nothing like it.
So I could see that in restaurants. And certainly at the home, you guys, you said this as your move into consumer, but I would imagine that there's maybe restaurants interested in that perfect plating experience?
Yeah, so great question. So we plan to launch our dinner plates in very premium restaurants, so like Michelin star restaurants, to start the trend at that level. Imagine how exciting that'd be, like to go to a restaurant and your meal is served on an electronically heated plate. You can't see any electronics. It's like our other products. They're very gorgeous and well designed, and we should talk a little bit about our design process. But so it just look like a dinner plate, but it's magically keeping your hot food hot and your cold food cold, and we have zoning on the plate so that when you put a cold potato salad down, it'll stay cold, and a hot steak, it'll stay hot. If you're cutting the steak and it moves, the heat will actually track underneath the steak.
So it actually knows where the meat is, and it heats that specific. Can you do, I want my potatoes at this temperature and my steak at this temperature? Is that kind of the idea?
Probably not on the launch product, but that would be a Gen 2, yes.
Right.
Absolutely, you could. You totally could.
You said we should talk about your design process.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a good looking product. I think Starbucks probably wouldn't have a clunky one. They wouldn't have a plate with batteries hanging off. So you guys didn't send that version out. So talk a little bit about your design.
Yeah, so I am like a big time design guy. And you know, if you saw some photos of the first invention of this, it was basically just a cylinder that held coffee, and it had circuit boards and wires and batteries flying all different directions, and I had dip switches on there to set the temperature. And obviously that's not going to be a consumer product. So I went through 3 different design agencies by the time I was happy enough with the design to where I wanted to build a company around the product and launch it. So we ended up at Ammunition, which is led by Robert Bruner, who is the head of design for Apple. He also is the chief designer for Beats by Dre, all the Beats headphones and all that. And you can if you look at the matte black Beats headphones, you can kind of see the resemblance with our product here. But we're very serious about design. And I wanted it to feel great in your hand. So if you feel the product in your hand, it's got that right diameter, and then we made a shoulder line here so that ergonomically it actually kind of stops like that. And then we came up with this idea. I didn't want to have a lot of buttons and menus and screens and stuff. So we wanted to put the check in the background and make it all about the drinking experience. So I think we've achieved that. So basically you tap the logo to wake it up, and then you rotate the dial, and you can set any drinking temperature that you want. Think of it as almost like the Nest thermostat for your coffee.
And for setting the temperature on the mug, is that done through like an app? Because you guys do have like a charger, like a base station.
Yeah,
right?
So it sits on a coaster.
Yep.
So you don't have to plug anything in or anything. You just set it there. And then both of these products will work on from your iPhone or your Android. And we have presets. So remember how I said earlier that I like my tea at 138 and my coffee at 135. So on the app, there's a preset drawer, and you can set your coffee or your latte or your tea at different temperatures and slide up and select. We're also building in a tea timer, which is a new feature which will come out in a couple months. So you steep your bag here, and then you can just slide up and select green tea, and it'll automatically go to 8 minutes or whatever, and then let you know when it's ready to take the tea bag out.
I want to make sure that if we have questions, does anyone have any questions? If you don't, start thinking about them. You mentioned baby bottles, and I think that's a really great application. One of my favorite products at CES was they had this, it was the Hydra countertop dishwasher, and what I liked about it is there's use cases where there's high repetition for like mothers that have like infant bottles. I also think a really good application for infant bottles is like a precision temperature control. So talk a little bit about moving into the baby space.
Okay, so one of our other future products is the world's first self-heated baby bottle.
Yeah.
Which I showed you a little bit earlier there. And with that, so my 6-year-old daughter was the inspiration for that. I remember on the nights when it was Dad's turn to feed, and I'd go downstairs, and take the bottle out and put it in a bowl of hot water, and it's bobbing around, and the baby's crying and losing her mind, and you're a new parent, and everything's like scary, and you're squirting milk on your wrist, and you're like, is that the right temperature? I don't know, and there's just all these anxieties. And I thought, this is so archaic. And so I created the world's first self-heated baby bottle. And so with the Ember bottle, you pull it out of the fridge, and there's a little base that magnetically couples to the bottom of the bottle. And when you couple it, it starts heating the milk or formula right up to 98.5 degrees, which is body temp, and then it says ready on the screen. So it's an instant heating, and it's very precise. The current way to warm a baby bottle is with these like Dr. Brown's or whatever, these like appliances that you plug in the wall, and it boils water on the bottle, and it has an egg timer. But there's no precision at all on that because you don't have any temperature sensors inside the bottle, right? So it's just a timer, 5 minutes, and then you still got to, you don't know what the temperature is. So at Ember, we're all about precision temperature control.
And you talked about getting it to the right temperature fairly quickly. I think that's important. But also, like I had one of those, you ever have those coffee makers where you put it on the thing and it heats it and it burns the coffee? Like, that is horrible. Yeah. You guys don't do that. Like, it's actually bringing it up kind of a right pace, and you're not burning things. Like, you're not burning.
Yeah. So we like to talk about how we do gentle warming. So what we do is we spread the surface area of our heating elements around to a larger surface area, and that allows us to lower the surface temperature of where the heater is, and so that we can gently warm the coffee or tea, which does not burn the molecules. When you're in a carafe or any of these other type heaters, you're actually burning the molecules of the coffee, and that's why after 20, 30 minutes it starts to taste bitter. So to get into Starbucks, we actually had to go through a whole bunch of scientists at Starbucks that are coffee tasting scientists that had to test the crap out of this stuff on, does it degrade the flavor over the time that you're drinking out of it? And the answer is no, it does not, and that's how we got into Starbucks.
So they have the scientists, but do they have like the tasting guys?
Oh yeah,
like,
and I met the head of all these guys. He's a great guy. Yeah.
There's a lot of hydration trackers out there, so bottles that will track. I think there's one over there. There are, there was the vessel that actually did sensing of like the caffeine sensing or the nutrients. Right. What are some future directions you could see smart containers going? I think precision heating is one. You could carry that for a long ways. But are there maybe other ways you can apply that, or other features you could add to containers you're thinking about?
That's a great question. Yeah, so we're thinking about how can we add features that people would care about that would relate to health, for instance. So what if you could look back on a log on your Ember app and see how many cups of coffee you drank every day for the last month, and what times of day, and if you had too much caffeine or not enough and stuff. And so we're working on integrating that into our app now. On the baby bottle, it's actually something even more exciting in that feeding reports. So when my daughter was born, my daughter's right there, she's 6 years old. Her name is Charlotte, and she's the inspiration for the baby bottle. And I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, you saw your cute daughter there. I forgot what I was going to say.
I get distracted. The feeding reports. So we used to have to go to the doctor because she was a preemie and say exactly what time of day all the feedings were. Like literally the doctor was like, where's your feeding report? And you're writing it down on a pad of paper and stuff. What if the bottle could track all the feeding for you, the ounces, the times of day, all that good stuff? So I'm all about putting useful features into our products and our apps that help humans out, as opposed to just like throwing Bluetooth in for no reason or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I would imagine there's data coming out that you are wrapping, that you can wrap there. Are there other ways you can envision using data from your products?
Well, as a business, we plan to monetize our data. I mean, we've got, with our coffee, we know where people are drinking, what times of day, how often they're drinking, not like on a by-person basis, it's not a creepy thing, but like I can look at a map and see like a map of the US, like pockets of states that are drinking more coffee than others, or their temperatures, or their times of day that they're drinking. A data point that I'm happy to share today that very few people know is that the peak drinking time in the United States for a cup of coffee, based on the almost 200,000 units we have out in the wild, is 10:51 a.m. So nobody knew that before.
Yeah.
Ember, like just the data just didn't exist.
Right. And we also know where the more jittery cities are.
That's right.
And pockets.
I can actually look on the map and see who's like cranking on the coffee. Yeah.
Do we have any questions for Clay? So I think you had the guy who told you at 10:51. Like I would want to know more data points. Like,
Yeah.
so I think that's fascinating. In terms of like ways in which I as a consumer can use data to make my life better, I think obviously the baby bottle one is good.
Yeah.
But health and nutrition tracking,
Yeah.
I think that's another application. Any other ways you can see data being used?
I think on the plate we'll probably do a data play.
Right.
We'll probably, so that you know you can track your meals and such. But I just want to make sure that whatever we do is useful,
Right.
and it's not in your face. Like that's what we do with our products. We make sure that the text sits in the background, and it's really more about the coffee and the food and the flavors and the taste, and that's what we're really all
And
about.
you pointed out that you don't want to necessarily just throw a network connection on there unless it's useful. So
That's right.
as you think about the broader smart home, do you see a place for Ember technology, or do you think that it kind of stands on its own?
Yeah, I'll give you a simple example. What if with the baby bottle, we're working on a version that'll sit right on your nightstand, and what if baby starts crying and you say, Alexa, warm up my Ember bottle? Like things like that.
Right.
So ways that we can integrate into the current systems that are in your home and make it all kind of connected as a web. But you could do that with the plates, you could do that with the cups, you could do that with all of our stuff. So those are some of the things we're looking at right now.
Yeah, and I can almost see getting the plates warm in
Pre-warming
time for plating, right?
Pre-warming
So
them. Like
based on when the
Alexa,
oven's
pre-warm
done.
my plates.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to be careful though that you're not creating all this functionality to make it too
That's right.
complicated, because you
That's
guys
right.
seem really focused on the user experience and making it usable and not overly complicated. I think that's one of your things.
Talk about that a little bit. So when we launched this product has a lot of bells and whistles. It's got phase change cooling, combined with a 7-sensor microprocessor controlled heating system. This is a very complex product. I like to joke you could send a spaceship to the moon with all the tech that's inside of this. And you got to turn it on. There's a few things you have to do. But we took our learnings from this and we applied it to this one. This product is super crazy simple. You just pull it off your shelf, put coffee in it. It knows you put coffee in it. It takes it right to the temperature last known, which you set. You don't have to turn it on or turn it off ever. You just can throw it in the pool. It goes a meter deep. Like you can throw it against a brick wall and it bounces back. I like to say this is the only ceramic mug that you'll have in your house that you can drop on the floor and it won't break.
And you can put it in the dishwasher?
Yeah, so we've tested it. It does survive the dishwasher, but we do market it as hand wash only, just to, for the finish and such.
A little bit more about voice. Go ahead.
We should talk about the
Oh yeah,
commercial side.
we were going to talk about commercial marketplaces. So talk a little bit about, I think this was your entry into the consumer space.
Yeah.
But I think the commercial market is pretty interesting. So talk
Yeah.
about how you guys can see Ember going into different markets.
So right now we're focusing on high-end hotel chains, and we're already starting talks with chains like Four Seasons, for instance. Imagine if you were to go into a suite at Four Seasons or any room, and you had 2 Ember mugs there, and we're working on what I'm calling a magic coaster. And basically you just set the mug down on it, and there's a screen, and it tells you the current temperature of your coffee in the mug, and then you can change the temperature right on the screen and then just pick it up and go and drink it. So imagine if we got one of those, what I call magic coasters, in the room with 2 of these right next to the Nespresso maker. You're like stoked, right? Because you can set any temperature, you can grab a cup of tea, and then start to think about it for room service, start to think about hospitals. We're talking the Mayo Clinic about delivering food to the patient rooms. Everybody that's ever been in the hospital knows that the food, when it gets to the room, just, first of all, it's really not very good food, but it's also cold, right? Even if they put that little cover on it, it's just cold by the time it gets to the room. So what if Ember's technology could actually provide a nice warm meal to the patient? So there's just so many places for our tech to go.
Well, it's interesting because sous vide actually, a lot of the initial sous vides were using professional medicinal equipment, those water baths, and then it went into the consumer market. In a way, I can see your technology, which is largely developed for consumer, moving into more professional markets, even into medicinal where they need precision heating for types of applications like that.
Yeah, so we're working to use our technology to apply it to vaccines. So I thought, what if we could use our technology to save lives? So in developing countries, the spoilage rate for vaccines is over 40%. And it's because they can't keep the vaccines at a stable temperature. So what if Ember's temperature control technology could keep vaccines at a stable temperature from the maker to the patient? And we're already building right now a prototype, which is a box, which has our semiconductor refrigeration, and you can control it from an iPhone, and you can load it with 40 vaccine vials, and it's battery powered and everything, totally off the grid. And you can strap that thing on the back of a moped and send it into the villages in Haiti and save lives. So we're like super excited about that.
And I think one of the benefits of starting with consumer is you get to be able to do mass market and scale.
Yep.
I think a lot of the problems with some of these products, getting them into emerging markets is oftentimes the price is so high.
Yep.
And you guys have already gotten that scale.
And we're like coming down, so our cost of goods sold is coming down every quarter because our volumes are going up.
So what are some of the, just kind of wrap up, what are some of the biggest surprises that you've had over the past, since late 2016 as you really got this out to market? Anything that you learned or were most surprised by as Ember kind of went out into the world?
Well, when we launched this, no one really knew how well it was going to sell. It was $150. A lot of people said, Clay, you're never going to sell a coffee mug for $150, man. And I, thankfully, proved everyone wrong. And we actually beat Starbucks' forecast by 300%. When we launched this thing, we sold out all across the country. And then this one was even bigger numbers, like over 100,000 units in the first 6 weeks. So we've just been, like, as much as like I'm biased because I created it, you never really know when you launch a disruptive brand new product to market what's going to happen. Is it going to be a miserable failure, or is the world going to love the shit out of this thing? So for us, it was the latter.
All right. Hey, well, I appreciate you getting up here and telling us a little bit about the Ember story. Give Clay a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was great.